One thing about humans is that we are remarkably adaptable, and we are true omnivores. Whether you believe in the carnivore diet, or the vegan diet, plant-based diet, I think the truth is that humans have evolved and survived and do so well because of their omnivorous capacity. And we can do fine off eating meat and meat only, but is it optimal? I don't think so. We can live and survive off eating a vegan diet. Is it optimal? I don't think so.
Okay.
So the optimal diet is the omnivore diet. So whether both sides want to agree to that or not, but it's a hot topic. People get triggered.
You've dedicated your life to it, so it's fair to say that
Well, I've actually dedicated my life to a diet that's pretty radical metabolic therapy, a clinical therapy. So the ketogenic diet is very extreme, and I don't think for some people, it may be optimal, obviously, if you have seizures or epilepsy.
Right.
Or something like that. But is it optimal for the athlete? Is it optimal? I admit I follow the diet, but every day I eat dark chocolate and blueberries and probably some greens and broccoli every day too. So it's not a version of a ketogenic diet that a person with epilepsy would follow. Although the science is evolving to the point where the classical ketogenic diet, our understanding of it is being that it was too restrictive, and that a more modified or more liberal forms of the diet may be actually better. Definitely better for adults, but in the pediatric population, it's always prudent to start them on a classical ketogenic diet with almost 90% fat, and then see how they react, and then maybe be a little bit more liberal and transition them to kind of the diet that I'm following. Okay. You can also incorporate different types of fats like coconut oil or medium chain triglyceride oil, perhaps even exogenous ketones, but that's still in a state of being studied now. That the introduction of those types of fats and supplements could make it possible that a much more liberal diet could be followed and still maintain therapeutic ketosis, which would have an anti-seizure neuroprotective effects. So that's like sort of my wheelhouse, and that's what I'm very interested in doing, because this therapy, the benefits of the ketogenic diet are not very accessible to people because they don't want to exclude an entire macronutrient from their diet, which would be carbohydrates. So I think there are true benefits to some of these plant-based foods, like, chocolate, blueberries, coffee, arugula, broccoli, things like that. There's definitely some real benefits to eating these foods. And I think that excluding them is not a great idea, especially for following it for the duration of your life. And some people have to do that for their disorder. So we're trying to work and engineer diets that would be feasible for someone to follow. But their feasibility, their efficacy may only be efficacious when ketogenic fats and ketone supplements are also incorporated into the diet. And we think of those things as food, like exogenous ketone. A ketone ester is a calorie containing molecule that is kind of unique. It's like a fourth macronutrient, but it can be incorporated into the food and make that ketogenic diet more efficacious. It can augment the therapeutic potential of the diet in different ways. So this is an area that I study and that we are doing research on now.
What do you believe the optimal diet is for just the average person who may not be a professional athlete, maybe goes to the gym a couple days a week, has a desk job, or has just a normal 9 to 5? What is your opinion on the optimal diet for that kind of person?
Yeah. Well, the diet that's not optimal is probably like the majority of people after a certain age eat too many calories, right? And surplus calories will result in sort of metabolic derangement and type 2 diabetes and just being overweight. So we are more likely to eat surplus calories if it comes from processed carbohydrates and a combination of sugar and fat, right? So sugar and fat are two things that you want to limit in your diet, the combination of the two. But fat, the combination, like salt, sugar, and fat. But a ketogenic diet is extremely high in fat. And if a ketogenic diet is by definition devoid of carbohydrates, it's the carbohydrates that can spike the insulin and kick you out of ketosis that makes the benefits of a ketogenic diet, it negates it. So if you're on a ketogenic diet and you follow the ketogenic diet perfectly, but have, a couple pieces of candy a day, you're not going to be getting the benefits of the diet from a neurological standpoint, at least from an anti-seizure standpoint.
Okay.
Because a child could eat one piece of candy and have a seizure, and this has been shown many times.
Wow.
So it kicks you out of ketosis, and then your brain goes right back into it activates your brain in a way that triggers a seizure. We don't know exactly why this happens.
Okay.
But it depends on the individual, I guess is my point, is that if you're trying to lose weight, a diet that is formulated, and that could be a vegan diet, it could be, I don't think it's optimal, or it could be a carnivore diet. But I think the optimal diet if we're just going to make a blanket statement, is a low carbohydrate, a diet that's low in carbohydrates, but is sufficient enough in plants that you're getting phytonutrients and fiber. I do believe in fiber. Early man had sometimes 100, 150, 200 grams of fiber in their diet. If you look at, it depends on the period too, if you look back in history, but I did study the evolution of the human diet through college and read a number of books on it. And one thing that was like really apparent is that a lot of fiber was eaten. But, an optimal diet would be devoid of processed carbohydrates and sugars, and sufficient in protein from fatty cuts of beef, fish, poultry. The beef, ideally, not everybody can afford it, but from pasture-raised, grass-fed animals.
Okay.
I think that's obviously much better for the environment. Concentrated feedlot operations are very destructive to the environment. And when you make a statement when you buy your food, if you're supporting this kind of agriculture. I do believe that GMO foods can be destructive too, having come from a farming background. We are farmers too. We have had to feed the cows in the morning and get them. So I spent a lot of time on the farm and feeding cows before coming here today. And I know there are proper ways to farm and improper ways to farm. So I think when you purchase your food, you're kind of making a statement, but also you're choosing a type of food that's inferior if you're going in the direction of, your food from factory farms. So that's one consideration. People put a lot of time and effort looking into this subject. That's all I'm going to say about it for now. But I think that the macronutrients are most important in regards to just like human nutrition. Right. So I believe in a higher protein diet, anywhere from, I think 10 to 15% or 15% is like what's recommended by the USDA or ADA. And I'm kind of more along the lines of, 20 to 30%, and with the balance being 50 to 70% of my calories from fat, just because I do ketogenic diet research. I tend to follow the ketogenic diet, and I do get probably anywhere from 5 to 15% of my calories from carbohydrates. And I can stay in ketosis with that level of carbohydrate consumption, especially if I'm incorporating ketogenic fats or I'm pretty active. And I have a lot of blood work to back up that's working for me.
Right. Right. Everyone's different.
Yeah. If you look at my blood work now, I'm 45-ish, and if I go back to I'm 25, my blood work at 45 is much better.